Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today on Bear Builds Bikes, we're going to put together an Electra Townie 7D. This is the ladies step-through version in Palm. Let's get started. The tools you're going to need for this job are some assembler's grease, some side cut pliers, a sharp razor knife, a 13mm wrench, a tire pressure gauge, a 4, 5, and 6mm Allen wrench, and a 15mm pedal wrench. So let's get the bike out of the box. With our sharp utility knife, we're going to start at one end and slice all the way down. Now first we'll take out the parts box so that the rest of the bike comes out easily. Set that aside. Rest of the bike should come out in one already packed unit. Set it off to the side. We'll use our cardboard for the cardboard that comes off, and we have a receptacle for all the plastic. So with our side cut pliers, we're going to cut all the zip ties that are holding the wheel on. And we're going to cut the one that's holding the seat post. And set our seat post aside. Now the front wheel still has the crank arm going through the spokes, so be careful when you're sliding this wheel off that you don't scratch anything on the frame. Cardboard and plastic come off now. Now the next step is to grease the head tube and the seat tube. So we remove our plastic cap, get our assembler's grease, a nice healthy dollop, be very careful cutting the box open. Once you have the side, tear it. Remove our seat. Remove our stem that came out of the side of the other parts box. And our other parts box has to be opened as well. We have our pedals, we have our front skewer, we have our stem collar and brake noodle, our rear reflector, the owner's manual, and the technical sheet on the derailleur system. All right, so now we're going to take our seat post and put it into the clamp. Make sure it's all the way down in, put a good angle on it. And with our 13mm wrench, we're going to tighten it down. Now we're going to put it into the frame. Go past the minimum insertion line, tighten down the binder. Now we can turn the bike around and put her up into the clamp. From here, you'll be able to cut all your zip ties, remove all your packaging. This shouldn't take very long at all, but make sure you get it all off cleanly. Don't cut the paint with the knife if you're cutting the tape. Do a clean job. All right, now that we've gotten all the packaging off, the first thing we need is the collar that goes over the head tube. That's in this bag. Seats right on top of the head tube. Now we have our stem. You're going to want to loosen the 6mm bolt at the top to be able to get the cap off the bottom. Now we turn our fork around and we insert our stem. Work it in to where you have about 3 fingers on the collar and just snug it down. You don't need to tighten this really hard yet. You still have to be able to align the front wheel. Take the cap off the top of the stem. Hold everything in place and you shouldn't have a problem losing the bolts. Now we have to figure out how our handlebar has to go on. In this case, it's going to go on this way with the shifter on this side. We put our cap back on and start the bolts by hand. Make sure that the gap underneath the cap is equal in the back and the front. That way it's clamping evenly. And just snug. From here, we're going to take our front brake cable, tuck it through the other ones, untie the knot, take our brake noodle with the fat side of the barrel first, insert our brake cable. This is pre-greased, you don't need to add any, and seat it on. Make sure you're seated at both ends. Take the last of our packaging off and set it into the brake arm cradle. Now the dust boot goes on and helps to hold the brake noodle into the cradle. The next step is to inflate our tires. All right, so the reason that we're going to inflate these first is so that we can adjust the brakes properly, because the rim will expand when the tire reaches pressure. These are recommended between 40 and 65 PSI. We're going to put them at about 50 PSI. Check it with our pressure gauge. Reading right at 50 PSI. Same with the rear. Check it again. Right at 50 PSI. So as you see by the tread pattern, these little triangles pointing forward is the rotational direction the tire is supposed to be in. So we're going to make sure we put the front tire on in the same direction. So now we're going to take our skewer that came in the box, take the tag off, open the skewer up, hold one spring to one side, take the other side off completely, take the spring off, put a little grease on the shaft so that it goes through the axle smoothly. Now this will go through from the left side. You see I'm holding the handle in the spring. The tire pattern goes in that direction. This is the left side. We're going to put this through. We're going to put the spring on with the tighter part of the cone facing the axle. The wider part actually seats into the back of the skewer cap. Now we're going to put it on the bike. Tighten it down in a clockwise motion while holding this side. When it starts to get a little bit snug, test it. Pull up on it. If it gets nice and snug, you're probably pretty close. You don't want this thing coming loose. Also, at the same time, You're going to try and make the tread of the tire line up with the center of the fork. This is one of the most important adjustments on getting these things assembled properly. Next, we will loosen our holding bolt on the brake. And pull back on the washer. There's a little slot in the top of the brake arm. This cable will feed right through it. Pull together with your 5mm. You don't want this super tight yet. You want to be able to wiggle the brake a little bit so that it's hitting on both sides. You'll test your brake. You'll see that one side has more tension than the other. You're going to use your adjustment screw and your Phillips head screwdriver to pull the brake arm back by putting the screw in. We always go after the weaker side first to see if we can get them to balance. Both brake arms are moving equally. We still have to make sure that our brake pads are perfectly set on the rim on both sides. Generally, these aren't too bad from the factory, but you always have to adjust them. You can still hear that it's rubbing a little bit, so you know the brake pads aren't parallel. And now it's free and clear. We'll test this side as well. Half the lever pull should lock the wheel. You don't want the lever going all the way to the grip. And that brake is good. Now we'll tighten down the holding bolt. We'll trim off the excess. I usually like to use the bolt here as my guide and put on a cable tip. You can tuck this right behind the brake spring and let it hang the front. Now we'll adjust the rear brake. So as you can see, when you pull the brake lever, one side is not moving as much as the other. We're going to put a little bit more tension on this screw here so that we can pull that brake pad out. And now we will increase tension on the other side to balance them. Now they're both moving evenly. And the wheel spins freely. We will double check our brake pad alignment. You want the pads to make good surface contact flat on the rim whenever possible. If you do get any howling out of the pads, you could tilt the pads inwards a little bit, known as toe in. Generally, that will get rid of any squealing sounds that you're getting out of your brakes. All right, so we have a few screws to deal with in this derailleur that stop the motion from coming off the chainring to the inside and stop it from going into the spokes on the other side. These are your low gears. This is your high gear. Your H and L are labeled on this derailleur. This screw back here adjusts how much spring tension there is on the derailleur so that it can make it up onto this big chain ring within its range of motion. This is your adjuster barrel for the cable tension. If you're not being able to get up into gear, open this up, pull the cable back a little bit, and you should be able to make those adjustments. For now, we're going to try to bring her down into 7th gear, up into 7th gear. And with one click of the shifter, we should go up into the next gear. When it's hesitating like that, you're going to turn out on the barrel so that it jumps up into the next gear. You can also at this time check the alignment that the drivetrain is going in a straight line down around the jockey wheels. All that should be perpendicular to the chain rings. So making adjustments on this barrel will bring the derailleur closer towards the spokes if you add more tension by going counterclockwise. You want this chain to be in a direct line. You can also line up the inside of this cage here with the next chain ring in line if you look straight down at it. One click, one gear. That's the way it should be. So now we'll unwrap our pedals. The people at Electro were very nice in putting the R and L on the pedals for us. Grease the spindles and put a little grease in our cranks and we'll install. Just enough to put a coating on the threads. We will start these by hand in a clockwise motion. Make sure that the threads mate together well, that they're not binding in any way. When you reach through the bike, it's still clockwise motion. Now with our 15mm pedal wrench, we'll tighten them down by pedaling backwards. Now we'll make sure that they're firmly set in the crank. Press down. Do the same thing on the other side. Press down. All right, we're in the home stretch now. All we have to do is take her down off the stand, put the rear reflector on and the stem cap. Rear reflector comes flat. You're going to want to loosen the screw, go about 2 or 3 clicks, and then take the other screw completely out. Be careful not to lose the nut on the other side. Now with our 13mm, we're actually going to adjust the seat angle to make it level. And tighten it down. Next we'll turn our reflector to make sure that the angle is right. You want this as vertical as possible so that it actually reflects the headlights of the car behind you. You can put your seat down. Make sure your stem is aligned with the tire. You're going to align the handlebar with the front wheel. You can line this screw, and this screw all the way to the tip of the tread here, and that should get you pretty much in line. All right, so now that we've got her down on the floor, we've adjusted our seat angle, the bolt is nice and tight. We're going to adjust our rider compartment. We're going to make sure that our handlebars are at the right angle so that the controls are easily accessed from a seated position. You don't want to be overextending looking for a brake lever in an emergency. Make sure that you tighten down your stem bolts equally. We've already made sure our alignment is good in the front, so we're going to make sure our stem bolt is nice and tight. Then we can add our stem cap. And we can move our reflector to the center of the handlebar where it belongs. We hope that you've enjoyed watching our video today on how to assemble an Electrotownie 7D step-through. We will be putting out more videos on different models of bikes, whether they're Electra or Cannondale or any of the other various brands that we happen to be dealing with at this time. We'd like your support in keeping this channel open and going. If you could like, share, and subscribe, that would help us a great deal. We hope you have a wonderful day. See ya.